All right, with us here today, all the way from Florida, USA, is Coach Josh Phillips. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing great. How are you, Coach Lighton?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. It's the time difference is one of these things is always throwing me off. Right now we have 9:15 in the morning, and what time is it with you?
Oh, it's probably close to quarter past six
Yeah,
p.m. in the
PM.
evening.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah. Anyway, yes, Josh. My first question with these podcasts is, where did we meet first? What
Well,
was
we
your
met in
recollection?
NFL Europe. We met in NFL Europe in 2002. Actually, probably first met in Florida during training camp. Were you down here for training camp?
Yep, yep, yep.
Okay, so we were in Tampa. We were actually practicing at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers facility, and I
Cool.
was fresh out of college. I had played college football at Yale University. I was trying to make the Amsterdam Admirals roster, and I met you in training camp down in Tampa, and was
Yeah,
blessed enough to make the squad and get to make the trip over to Europe.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. That's look. As we said off air, that's 21 years ago, right? So I I'm not 100% sure. Like if meeting at the hotel, the team hotel in Tampa, or the practice first, or wherever it was. But that's how long ago it was, and I wasn't actually thinking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers facility, the old Tampa Bay Buccaneers facility,
That's
right?
right.
It's I've been in the new one, and that's a little bit different than what it was when we were there.
Yeah, but the stadium that we played in, we played our games not overseas, but before we left, like our training camp games, we played at Raymond James Stadium.
Right.
So we got to play in Raymond James Stadium with the pirate ship. I don't remember them firing the cannons or anything, but we did get to play
Yeah.
there, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, that's right. Yeah, it's I remember we were there for a few years. And there was only one of those days that we practiced against each other that was in the stadium. All the other days were just on a practice field. There was some fans in the stands, right? But it wasn't a real game, or just people just come hang out and see what it's all about. The NFL Europe. So NFL Europe, but you just like you. I remember you were at Yale. I remember you played both ways. Now, no, I don't remember. I know we played DB. I don't know if you played receiver or running back, or what did you play in offense?
So I played running back in college at Yale, um, and I played both ways at Yale. Especially my sophomore and junior year, and then only one or two carries my senior year, something like that. I was starting at corner then, but and then I played after NFL Europe. I played arena football at one point, and when I played that, I was a wide receiver DB. So wherever I needed to play as a skill position player, I would play to try to get on the field.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, in arena football, those running backs are more like freaking pulling guards, aren't they? They're
Oh,
huge.
they're huge. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm not that size. They're more like middle linebackers, really. Like that's what they would do. I'm so glad I didn't play that position in arena football because all they do is run into each other for 4 quarters. You literally go from being the fullback to flipping over and being the middle linebacker, and those same two guys just run into each other over and over again for 4 quarters.
Yeah, nice one. Like I remember we've had in Amsterdam, we've had a running back who, like I said, like he was more like a small guard, right? And he also played arena football as a running back, and like that. But he was like he could run a little bit, but not like like a I don't know, a real running back would, like an athletic. But this was like a fullback running the ball, and it was like if he would come downhill, that would leave a dent. But I'm not a big fan of arena football.
I'm not a huge fan either, although there were some fun parts to the game. How close the fans are. I mean, literally, you throw towards the wall on the sideline, a fan might reach over and interfere. Um, you can get knocked over the wall, and you're all of a sudden in a fan's lap. It's a fast-paced game. It's definitely geared towards quarterbacks, wide receivers, that with the high motion. So it's a different game, and it's on a smaller field. But I did love the tight atmosphere. It was always like a raucous crowd, and they're blasting music in these arenas, and they'll set off little fireworks and stuff, and it was fun. But it's not the same game as the NFL.
Yeah.
It's not the same as the 11-man game, so it's different. There's pluses and minuses, but I'm definitely a NFL guy or a 11-man football guy first.
Mm-hmm. Now, because like not everybody from all the I coached in the NFL Europe for 7 years. It's not like everybody I remember every player, but a lot of them I would say. Maybe you, as coming from Yale, had something to do with it. Not a whole lot of Yale players in professional football, or at least in the NFL Europe at that time. Is there more guys from Yale in the NFL at the moment than there's ever been before, or is I think I was gonna say Fitzmagic played at Harvard, right?
That's true.
Yeah,
I didn't play against him. He was right after me, but he played at Harvard. So I don't know if you remember this. There was actually a safety that played for the Barcelona Dragons when we were over there in 2002. That was my safety at Yale. I played corner. He played safety on the same side of the field. That was Than Merrill. And I got to play against him twice when we played the Dragons that year. And a couple of times we matched up on special teams, which was fun. There are some Yale guys in the league right now. I know that this is not good for me as a Yale grad, because I don't know their names, but I know there's a linebacker that led his team in tackles that's an all-pro, that's phenomenal, that played at Yale. There's a tight end in the league. But the Ivy League always puts a few guys out. Every year there's guys that are talented enough to make it, that have that athletic ability, and then generally their football IQ is very high.
Yeah. Well,
but I wanted to say one thing before you ask me another question, because you talk about remembering me. I wanted to say I remember you specifically because you coached running backs. You didn't even coach my position. I was a defensive back over there. But the way that you related to the players, like you always connected with guys, and I felt like you genuinely cared about me. You would ask me how I was doing every day. You would come up to me in warm-ups and always had something encouraging to say. You would, sit down and eat with us, or come into the weight room with us and interact. And so you were a very relational coach. And I feel like that's kind of how I got to know you a little bit. We connected. And I always appreciated that about you.
Nice of you to say. And remember, so Yale, obviously Ivy League teams. You have to be smart to go there. Is it true that there is no scholarships for football players?
That was true. So I've heard that currently the grant and aid packages is what they call them. I heard that what they're giving now is a lot more than what they used to give, but the schools are more expensive now. So when I went to Yale I graduated in 2001, it was like $45,000 a year to go there. Now I think it's $80,000 a year. It's almost double that. And so I've heard that they give a lot more scholarship money than they used to, but I had to get financial aid. I worked in the gym on campus. I didn't work very hard, but I did work in the gym on campus. So I had to do kind of a little work study thing. But it's not full scholarship. It's not full athletic scholarship, but they definitely try to make a way for you to be able to go. I mean, they're trying to work with you, and the greater the need, the more they make that up in terms of what they grant.
Wow. Yeah, no, like I've heard of that, and I thought, well, um, you gotta be smart and find a way financially to get there, and we all know how expensive going to college in the U.S. can be. So yeah, I thought, but $80,000 to go to university for one year
Yeah.
at the moment.
Well, you've probably heard of IMG. Okay, IMG, which is a famous school, like high school down here in Florida. It's actually right up the road. IMG, for those that pay the full price to go there, $80,000 a year to go to high school. $80,000
Jeez.
a year. Now, the guys on their national team are not paying that, but there are students that go to IMG and their parents pay $80,000 a year for them to go to high school, which is
Oof.
wild to me.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. So talk about high school. You are now. Oh, is that your phone?
I got it. I got it. So, yeah.
No, all good. So you're now the new head coach, new appointed head coach in Florida. Um, what is your journey been so far? Like you started high school as a player, and now your latest station is in high school as a head coach. What have you done in between in your coaching career? Oh,
So I played, like I said, for NFL Europe and for the Texans. I played for the Houston Texans. I came back. They were the team that allocated me to NFL Europe. And then oh, geez, sorry, I'll get this fixed. That's my wife trying to text me during the middle of this. So I should have put it on airplane mode. But so I played for the Texans in 2002 after I was with the Amsterdam, and then I played arena football in Chicago. I started coaching in 2006 at Santa Monica High School out in California. And then I went to Wagner College, which is a 1AA school up in New York. I was a defensive backs coach, co-special teams coordinator. I came back to Los Angeles Pierce College, and I was a defensive coordinator. We went 7-3, and they hadn't had a winning season in like 20 years. We won our conference and went to a bowl game. I got hired at Cal Berkeley, which I had mentioned to you. A former teammate from NFL Europe, Kevin Daft, actually helped me get that job because he was at Cal, and I was at Cal for 3 seasons, which Coach Tedford, and was a strength coach, and I helped out on the defense a little bit. Then I went into medical sales for a few years. I was out of coaching. Then I coached at Granada High School for 4 years, which is up in the Bay Area near Cal. And I was an offensive pass game coordinator, a defensive coordinator, defensive backs coach. I moved to Florida in 2020. I was the offensive coordinator at Bradenton Christian School for a year. I was a defensive coordinator at Manatee High School last year, and now I'm the head football coach at Sarasota.
bang! There
So
it
this
is.
is my first head coaching job.
Yes. Right. Now, obviously, you haven't had the in-season experience as a head coach. Um, how do you think that's going to be different, or how is it different already for you now as a head coach compared to being a coordinator?
There are so much additional things in a program that you have to make run or you have to be in charge of as a head coach that I didn't have to deal with as a coordinator. I mean, from dealing with booster club, raising funds, meals for players, practice schedules, dealing with all of the coaches that you have to hire and bring on, strength and conditioning program, nutrition, dealing with administration, dealing with player grades, making sure that players are on track academically. These are things that all fall under the umbrella of head coach. I mean, you have to run the entire program. I mean, I could go on. There's social media, social media presence, college recruiting, which is something that's really important too, making sure these guys get out, that colleges see our players so we can get them scholarship opportunities. All of that falls under my watch. And so those are things that I'm really trying to be diligent about getting on the right track and making sure that we're doing all those things really well. I've tried to hire a staff of guys that I really trust, an offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, not because I won't be involved, but I want to be able to let them do what they do while running all these other facets of a program.
Mm-hmm. So look, we're going to talk about what's going to be like for if any Aussie kids want to go play high school football in a minute, right? But what does your staff look like? So how many like full-time coaches do you have? Or are they teachers? Or are they there's volunteers? What's the makeup of your staff?
I've got about 13 coaches on my staff. Now that includes varsity and JV.
Okay.
Full-time guys that are actually going to be on campus, probably 3, maybe 4, right? There's a couple of coaches that I'm still trying to bring on and get them on campus so that they can teach and be here every day. My defensive coordinator, his name is Baraka Atkins. He actually played for multiple NFL teams, and he was drafted by the Seattle Seahawks. I just hired him a couple weeks ago. He's going to be on campus, and he brings a lot to the table. The offensive coordinator, Chris Conboy, he coached at Manatee High School back when they were winning multiple state championships, and he actually teaches over at Palmetto or works with kids that have IEPs over at Palmetto High School, which is a rival high school in the area. So he'll be commuting to practice afterwards. I've got a coach named Thor Miller who actually played for Coach Conboy at Manatee, and he's on campus. He runs the PE department here, and he's our offensive line coach / run game coordinator. And then I've got a couple other coaches that I'm trying to get on campus and figure out what their roles are going to be on campus. I know what they're going to do for me football wise. That's the easy part, really. But getting them jobs that can pay for what they do to take care of their family. Sometimes that's the hard part, right? Because the supplements that I have to give coaches, they're okay. They're not bad, but they're not going to live off that. They're not going to live off that. So they have to be able to live off either whatever their other job is. And then I have to realize, like, hey, these guys are commuting. They have a real job. They have a full-time job doing something else. Or I've got to help find them a teaching job, something on campus.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're a public school, right?
Yes, I am.
Do you play against private schools?
We do.
You do.
We're going to play a few private schools this year. We play Bishop Verot, which is a private school down here. We're going to play IMG's white team, not the IMG National, but we play IMG white in the last game of the season. I think we play Tampa Catholic in our first game, our kickoff classic. So there's a few private schools that we play.
Because as a follow-up there is like I always understood that private high schools, there's more money. Coaches be coaching full-time, not necessarily have to teach. Is that a competitive advantage? Is that something that happens in Florida?
I think it can be. Not every private school is like that. There's different sizes of private schools, and they have different amounts of money that go into their athletic programs. There are some private schools that I feel like they have a stockpile of money that they can throw at people. And if they have coaches that they can pay to just coach, that they don't have to teach, that's certainly an advantage for them. I mean, and there's a lot of coaches that would rather do that. So I think that there's a lot of advantages that private schools have. Also, in terms of recruiting kids, like, we're not supposed to recruit kids at public schools. That's not supposed to be part of what we do. And there are definitely rules against it. It's kind of the same for private schools, but I think that they get away with some things that we definitely don't and can't.
Yeah. Well, that's a bit apples and oranges, right? If you have the funds and you get away with recruiting, which isn't allowed, that's definitely a competitive advantage. So in regards to private schools, if they have more money and they have more full-time staff, how do you, is there a difference there in the strength of the teams that you play against, or do you beat a private school as much as you beat public schools, or how does that work on the field?
Again, I think it really depends on the school. So last year when I was at Manatee, we played IMG White in our kickoff classic, and we beat them in the kickoff classic. It was a good game. We were up by more than 2 scores at one point, and they came back in the second half, and I think it ended up being a 10-point game at the end. And they've been building and growing that program. Now, the one thing that I'd say with IMG White that's a little unfair is you never know who you're actually going to play against. There are times that they will take guys off the national team that didn't really get a lot of time the week before, and they'll play them on the IMG White team. And so you can't really be sure of the roster that you're going to play because they'll bump guys down like that sometimes. A couple of years ago, I was doing color commentary for all of the IMG teams, and the IMG White team wasn't very good. They've significantly improved over the last couple of years. So now they can compete against higher level public schools down here. They're not on the level of the national team for sure. And then when I talk about other private schools, like I coached at Bradenton Christian a couple of years ago, which they're a good program, but they're a tiny program, right? Like we had 24 guys on our team, a 24-man football team trying to go out there and play 11-man football. There were days of practice where we couldn't even do 11-on-11 scrimmage. We had to do half line, or we had to set up different drills. It's tough to really get a look. And I'm sure those are some of you've faced issues like that coaching yourself. So It just makes it harder. So it really depends on the school. I mean, I could go through and name schools that are really well known, that are renowned, that have lots of money. They are able to compete year in and year out with public schools, but there's a select number of them. And then there's a lot of other private schools they're smaller, they're tinier, they don't have nearly as big a budget. And those schools are borderline 8-man football schools.
Wow. How big is your school?
I believe we have over 3,000 students. It might be 3,500 students. So we are 7A, but they keep reclassifying things. So I know at one point we were 7A, but then they changed the classifications last year. And now they've got what they're calling metro and suburban and different. I'm confused. I don't know. But we're not the largest in all of Florida, but we're like second largest in terms of divisions and how they go. And we're a pretty sizable high school.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and from, if you have that many students, how many of the students are in your football program?
So we've got over 100 students in our program. One of the things that I was really pleased with when I came here is the fact that we had freshman football last year. There's a lot of schools that no longer have enough kids to do a freshman football team. Now I'm talking freshman, JV, and varsity. So we got 3 teams. And the thing that I love about that is our freshmen get a playing experience, right? Like, because as a freshman, you come in, you're smaller, you haven't necessarily physically developed yet. Even if you did have that big growth spurt, you haven't really grown into your body. You're still trying to learn how to move, and you're just hitting the weight room for the first time. And the best thing those kids can do is play. They need to get out and they need to play the game. And so the fact that we have freshman football and they're going to go play games of their own where our freshmen get on the field and get to play, that's a huge advantage. And I'm really excited about that because I feel like that gives me something to build on. We've got an influx of kids that are going to be coming in, and they're going to grow, and we get to mold them and shape them and get them in our off-season program. And so we're in a great spot right now. I feel like our upcoming senior class is really talented, and they're working really hard. But I'm excited to see in a couple of years what these incoming freshmen are going to become.
Yeah, that's great, and especially because they're playing against their own age group, right? They're the young kids that get experience playing their same age. I'm on the other side. If you would on a, if you're a younger kid and you would have to play up a couple of ages, makes life a little bit harder too.
Don't worry, I'm just trying to make adjustments to make this look a little bit better.
Oh, good.
There we go.
I see. When you move the camera there, I see you got a Captain America shield up there.
That is correct.
That is awesome.
I used to be a youth pastor out in California and some in Florida. And when I left California to move down here, one of the kids in my youth group knew I was a big Marvel fan, and he spent over a week making me. I'll pull it down. Hold on a second. I'll pull this thing down. He spent over a week making me this Captain America shield, which he made out of boxes, which is crazy. So I really appreciate that. I take pride in the fact that he did that and made that for me, and it reminds me of that relationship.
That's very nice. Yeah. Look, if you hadn't moved the camera, I would have never seen it. That's how good is that? Yeah. Aussie kids, there's a whole bunch of kids that, want to go and play in the NFL, right? Easy, because there's been a handful of Aussies who actually, or there's one, Adam Gotsis is still playing the NFL. We had Jesse Williams, who is no longer in the NFL. And long ago, there was a guy called Colin Scott who went to University of Hawaii and then played for the Cardinals and I think another team, but I can't remember. Now, your first step is not going to be at the highest level. What is it that, if you can run us down like a daily schedule as a football player in a high school program? Because a lot of times I feel the kids won't have a real good understanding what that actually means. Playing football in Australia or in Europe, right? You practice 1, 2, maybe 3 times a week, and it's all very different from the American experience. So if you could, talk a little bit about what a in season, off season day looks like as a high school football player.
Okay, so we have workouts starting at 7 a.m. School starts at 7:30, but we have the football players in at 7 a.m. so that their first period class is weightlifting for football. Now, this isn't every kid, but most of the kids that are varsity players, they get that. And then we've got later in the day, it'll be either 7th or 8th period, we have weightlifting for those younger guys so that they're getting that weight room time. So that's 5 days a week, right? That's every day. Now, we're not going to do the same thing every day. And definitely when they're playing on a Friday night, when we're in season, what they're going to do in the weight room on that morning is going to be very, very different than what we would do during the off season. Now, right now, I've got them 5 days a week and we're lifting hard. And on Fridays, that's our hardest day because I know they've got 2 days after that to recover. So that's when we're doing, lots of squat volume or heavy squats. We're hitting their legs. They're benching a lot. They're doing all those things. So it's 5 days a week. And during the season, we've got that morning time to get them weight lifted. And then they've got 8th period where they come down and we're going to be able to watch film. So we're going to watch film of our practices. I mean, we have multiple camera angles. We've got a drone flying out there recording our practices. And we're going to take a look at that and we're going to critique it in a good way, a positive way, but say, this is what you can do better. During the season, usually it's kind of the heaviest days are Monday, Tuesday. Then Wednesday is a little bit lighter. Thursday is more of a walkthrough. Friday, you play the game. Some teams will come in on the weekend and get just like a little flush out session to try to relieve some of the soreness, maybe get a lift in and watch film. We're still talking about that as a coaching staff. I may not have the players come back till Monday. I may give them the whole weekend off, but that's an example of what it looks like in terms of a given week and what we do. Mondays and Tuesdays during the season, we're usually in full pads. Wednesdays is maybe shells, like just the helmet and shoulder pads. Thursdays is usually just helmets. And then we get after it on Friday night.
All right. Yeah. Lifting five days a week, that in itself will be different from what kids are used to here. what would that look like? Because I know you're a big CrossFit guy now. When you were playing, there was no CrossFit, I guess, but your lifting program, what does that mean? Like, what is it weight wise for some of the skill guys or the big fellas, or just a little bit of detail on what kids should get ready for?
Okay. Well, so right now I can really lift them hard 5 days a week because we're in the midst of the off season. So it's kind of a pyramid, meaning a reverse pyramid, meaning it's the hardest on Monday and Friday. Then on Tuesday and Thursday, it's still difficult, but the volume is a little bit different and the exercises are a little bit different. Wednesday is probably the easiest day. And actually, because we have Fellowship of Christian Athletes on Wednesday morning, I let them come in a half hour later. So it's a little bit shorter. But, Mondays we're doing cleans and front squats and we're benching and we're getting after it. It's either higher volume or it's relatively heavy weight. Tuesdays, we do more single leg stuff, split leg movements, overhead pressing. It's a little bit lighter and not quite as intense as Monday was. Wednesday, sometimes we'll just do light movements. Like we'll do power cleans, but they're fast and they're not heavy. And we're just trying to move the bar. We'll just do hang cleans so they don't actually have to take the bar all the way from the floor. And then we'll do box jumps. We'll do something lighter, faster, fast twitch. And then Thursdays again is more of that, okay, we're going to go overhead or we're going to do single leg stuff. Now we've also got a weightlifting team. They have high school weightlifting here in Florida and we're in season right now. And a lot of our meets are on Thursdays. So if you have a meet on a Thursday, you actually have to max your snatch, your clean and jerk, and your bench on Thursday. And then we come in Friday and we squat hard. That is our heavy day because like I said, we have 2 days to rest. Now in season, it's very different. Monday is going to be the hardest day. Monday is going to be the day you squat really heavy. If you're going to, beat them up or bang them up, it's going to be on Monday. Tuesday, maybe we're going to do some upper body hard, bench, things like that, some single leg movements. Now, Wednesday, we're going to get more into some type of supplementary thing. Thursday is going to be more speed. We're not going to load them up. And Friday, we might just stretch them or take them through some light mobility or some speed stuff that's super light that we're not going to load them up. But it just looks very different in season and out of season.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when these, what's the youngest football player on your freshman team?
13 or 14. I mean, most kids are going to be 14 years old as freshmen in high school. Some are 15. You might have a kid that 13, 14, 15. Yeah, you might have a kid that's turning 14 very early in the year. He enters the grade as a 13-year-old, but he's going to turn 14. That's probably the youngest you'll ever have that's in high school as a freshman. Yeah.
So when they lift, it must be different than the guy who's in his senior year, right? Are they? Yeah. So what do they sort of focus on when you're 14 years old?
Form
or is
and
it
technique.
The same thing?
They focus on form and technique. I mean, we want to get full range of motion. We want to teach them movement patterns. So for the squat, for instance, for somebody that's young like that, we may want to start them out in a front squat rather than a back squat. We might even start them out where they're doing something where they're holding their hands out. They have to rest the bar here because then if you dip forward at all, the bar will just roll off. Because we want to force them to work on that really erect posture and that really straight up and down position. We want to work on mobility, overhead mobility. We want to work on hip and ankle mobility. We want to teach them to be able to get in a deep squat position, to be able to get in a clean position, to be able to catch a clean down there. We want to teach them how to put force into the ground. We're going to work on ground contact stuff. We're going to teach them how to run. We're going to teach them how to cut. It's going to be all of those things, and it's going to be repetitive, and it's going to move a little bit slower, but it's because you're putting the building blocks in place for them to keep building on those later and get stronger and get faster and move more weight. If you can get that technique right and you can get those movement patterns right when they're young, they're going to be way more efficient athletes as they get older.
Yeah. When you mention this, I have to introduce you to a hashtag that I would love you to start using. EIAT. Everything is a technique.
Everything is a technique. EIAT.
EIAT is the kids here, they hear me say it all the freaking time. And like it's like one of these mantra type of things. It's like they need to hear it all the time, all the time. Everything is a technique. And if that's your if that's your starting point, that you understand that everything is a technique, then you have a really chance to develop whatever it is that you want to do. And I don't know. I started a few years ago where, you try to find something easy to remember, right? EIAT. That's it. So, at what age now do you go like, all right, let's start loading these kids up with some weights here?
I mean, as they get into their sophomore year, if they've established a good technique base, we start building it up. And there's kids right now that are sophomores that are lifting on our weightlifting team that are moving some pretty good weight. I mean, I can think of a sophomore, that, he just PR'd his bench at 225 and he just snatched, 175 and he's cleaning close to 225. And this kid is a skill player. I mean, he's probably 160 pounds, 165 pounds.
Wow.
That's pretty good. He's moving along at quite a pace. They're not all there, but definitely by the time they're a sophomore, if their movement patterns are solid and they're not going to hurt themselves in terms of putting their back in a bad position, you can start to challenge them, and they'll start to move up consistently in weight. And by the time they're a junior, so they're like 16, 17 years old, that's an age now that you can start lifting. I mean, you can really start getting after it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's look, really what you said, like as soon as they have the technique, I start increasing the weight a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So in regards to preparation for season, right? The off season, you have blocks for strength, power, speed, conditioning. How does that work for you guys?
For sure, there are blocks. So right now, our focal point is building strength and building size. Right now, it's strength and mass, I would say, and then technique, strength, mass, and technique. As we get into and through the spring, we have spring ball coming up that'll start the last week in April. As we get into our summer program, it's going to shift more towards power, speed, and then conditioning is something that we're going to start to build for the summer. I'm not super concerned about how conditioned they are heading into spring football. I really want them to be strong and I want them to be fast. And then as we get into the summer, we're going to work on the power, the explosiveness, the speed, the agility, and we're going to start to shift into a conditioning because we got to get them ready for that season. Got to build up that conditioning to a level that they can sustain through 11, 12 weeks of football. Going into the playoffs, it might be 13, 14 weeks of football. So there's definitely phases to how we do this, but right now we're focused on strength, size, and technique.
Yeah. How many? So you had over 100 guys playing football. How many of these 100 guys you think are multiple sport athletes in your school?
I'd say probably 3/4 of them.
Yeah.
We have a lot of players that play multiple sports. There's a couple of basketball players. I can think of at least 2, maybe 3 guys that play basketball. There's several baseball players on both varsity and JV baseball. So probably 5 or 6 guys that play baseball that also play football. There's a couple of wrestlers, guys that do wrestling. And then, weightlifting is a sport that I think really complements football. Track and field is a sport that I think complements football. So we have several of our skill guys that are out there running track, and we have a good base of guys that are doing weightlifting that also do football. I don't know, maybe 15, 20 guys.
And do you encourage that these kids play other sports in the off season?
I do. I think that if there's any time to do multiple sports, it's now. I know that there are a lot of people that look at it, they're very into specialization, and they try to get a kid to specialize as young as they can, and they just shoot them towards that thing. I think that leads a lot of times to injury. It leads to burnout. They're doing the same movement pattern over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, which I think also leads to injury and overuse. Kids, first of all, the high school experience is something that you can never go back and replace. And I like for kids to be well-rounded athletes and to push themselves, and it develops something else in them. Now, maybe if they get to the time that they're a senior and maybe they were playing basketball or baseball before, or vice versa, and they want to switch and just play, if they want to focus on the one because this is the thing that's going to get them the scholarship, okay. Yeah. But I like when kids have tried to play other sports and develop other skills, because I think it makes them more rounded as an athlete. There are things about being a basketball player that I think translate really, really well to being a linebacker or a defensive back, and some of the techniques that you would use if you're pressing a guy at the line of scrimmage, or if you're shuffling out to try to get your hands on somebody and reroute them. These are things that you need to be able to do, or even being a running back or a wide receiver with the ball and working those lateral moves. There are things, there's a long line of baseball players that are quarterbacks. That's been going on for a long time in the arm development thing. But hitting a ball with a stick is one of the hardest things to do in the world. And I think developing that focus. And the one thing that I've said to kids, even about weightlifting, that I love is the more times you can put yourself in a competitive situation where you have to respond to the moment, the better you will be. The better you will be in life, and the better you will be as an athlete. So in weightlifting, they do snatch, clean and jerk, and bench. They do only three of each lift. But all eyes are on you. When you get up there and you're snatching or clean and jerking or benching, everybody's watching you, and you either succeed or fail. And I think a lot of the lessons that we learn in life are how we respond when things don't go the way we want, or how we react to the pressure. And the more times you can put yourself in competitive situations where you have to get to know yourself, you have to find out what's inside of you. You have to be willing to give it everything you have and fail, try something and it not succeed, and then come back the next time and be able to find a way to make it work. And I think that makes us better as people. And I think it also makes them more resilient athletes.
Yeah. Like I especially look, there is always this discussion going on. What age you, she really wants you home, coach.
That's a kid, actually. This is a weightlifter. We're off tomorrow, and he's texting me to ask me if I can send him a special workout tomorrow.
There you go. You want to have a bunch of those. So there's always this discussion on at what age do you start specializing. I think it's a no-brainer when football players go do run track, lift weights, or wrestle. Right? If you're a quarterback, you're a pitcher, is a no-brainer, right? Like I said, if for basketball, if for nothing else, just working on your feet. Like you said, if you're working your coordination with your feet and your hands with the ball, now you got to make a move because you got to want to get past this guy. All things that carry over into our sport.
Right.
As soon as a sport is there's no carryover. I'm not saying it's not, like you said, because you mentioned these motor patterns, I think that's great. But if you can do, have a carryover, sport that carries over, like for swimming, a great sport. Like, don't get me wrong, to do, because there's a lot of value in swimming, but I don't see a whole lot of carryover there. So Um,
Yeah, I mean,
if,
you picking swimming, that is a sport where there's probably less carryover. You did mention CrossFit though, and I'll say this: it's kind of interesting. One of my good friends is a really high level CrossFitter that he swam college at USC, and just the energy system now. But CrossFit's very different than football.
yeah,
The
yeah.
energy system of he was able to swim those middle distances and do it again and do it again and do it again and do it again, and that type of conditioning base. But yeah, from a muscle pattern recruitment, swimming doesn't have a lot of carryover. So that's one sport where, that water polo, I could name other sports that probably have less crossover, but just like wrestling is great, especially for linemen, learning how to grapple and use their body. And so wrestling has some advantages as well.
Mhm.
I just like to see kids set a wide base, right? That base of what they've put in the tank, they can narrow that over time. But if that base that they set, they can go higher the wider that base is set. That's kind of how I look at it. And when they get to maybe their last couple of years in high school, if they want to choose a sport that they know now, this is my heart, this is what I love, this is what I'm passionate about, go ahead. But even through the whole high school experience, I think kids can play multiple sports because they're going to be forced to choose usually when you go to college. Very,
Yeah.
very rarely do you get to play multiple sports. And you'll see who recruits you, who you have opportunities from to go to college. And maybe you love football, but you get recruited to play baseball or basketball, or vice versa. Maybe you love basketball, but you're a better football player. I had a basketball coach tell me recently about a couple of kids. Hey, honestly, they're okay. They're decent basketball players, but I think that they have a better chance of getting a scholarship as a football player. And
Mhm.
I think that that's true for some.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Like not everybody can be a Deion Sanders, right?
Right. Or Bo Jackson. People forget
Nope.
about Bo.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's really valuable insight right there, coach. Now the other thing, because like it says coach, author, former NFL player. The let's talk about the author side of things. Because obviously, off air we talked a little bit about this. And this is the point where I tell you that I actually also in the process of writing a book. So
Good.
that's that's yeah,
Well,
yeah.
you'll have to,
So
I'll
that's
send you a copy if you send me a copy.
yeah, no problem at all. But it's been a long process on my end. But um, tell us a little bit about the process of writing the book. Why you want to write the book that you did write because you finished it, and let's start from that perspective.
Well, the book is called It's My Time. And it's kind of a play on words because what I realized as an athlete, and it's written for athletes, to athletes, you go through a lot of highs and lows as an athlete, no matter who you are, no matter how much success you have, whether you're Michael Jordan or Tom Brady, whatever, you've got to learn to overcome obstacles. And
Mm.
I said, it's my time because there were so many times in my career or my life where I thought I'd finally made it. I thought it was my time to shine. I thought it was, this is it, right? I've done all
Yeah.
the work, I've prepared, and I'm going to go out and this is going to be my season, or I'm going to be the star. And hey, I had a blessed career. I did some things. I got, to play in NFL Europe and get coached by you. I got to play with the Texans for a little while. I got to play, I got to live my dream in some sense. But I didn't have a 10 or 15-year NFL career. I didn't win a Super Bowl. And there's things that I had dreams that were different or loftier than what I achieved. And there was setback, there was failure, there was injury, there was disappointment. And you got to figure out what you do with that stuff. And what I feel like the book is about is trying to equip young people. It's really written for young people with when you go through tough times in life, how are you going to respond?
Mhm.
How are you going to use that thing to become the person, the man or woman that you were created to be? And I am a man of faith. I do believe in God. And so I believe that there was a plan. that was bigger than what I thought that it was. I had
Mhm.
plans for my life. It didn't end up exactly like I thought it would, and yet it's blessed. And part of the reason why I feel like I'm here today as a head football coach for Sarasota High School, why I do what I do, is to help kids that are going through things that I went through, things that I struggled with, and that hurt and were hard. And as a young person, I didn't necessarily know how to deal with it, but you get to watch me figure that out. Like, that's the story that I'm telling, is how I came to the place that I did, and the man that I feel like I've been molded and shaped into. And so I hope that the book encourages young people. As I know your audience is a lot of young athletes that maybe are looking, they have lofty dreams. They want to play in the NFL, or they want to get a scholarship to go play in the United States. And I think my book speaks to them, because it talks to them about the highs and the lows of the experience, and how do you handle both, because some people can't handle success, and some people can't handle failure, and at the end of the day, I think we're supposed to learn and grow from both.
Yeah. Well, that's a book worth writing. Because like you said, like you said, look, athletes, isn't it really, what any young kid can learn from, no matter if it's athletics or just life, academics, any subject really is like, nothing is ever going to go the way you want it, or 100%. That's look, one of the things that I do most pre-game speeches that I do as a football coach is like, like, we know at some point adversity is going to come, but you know what? We already know it's coming. So it's, like, we're just going to keep on plugging, and we're going to make the most out of it. So how did you get to this point where you said, like, I need to write this book? And how did that happen? Because I'm feeling there's a story to that as well.
Yeah, there's a couple of ways that I got to that place. Um, So first and foremost, I was working for an organization called Fellowship of Christian Athletes, where I would get to go and I'd get to share my story. I'd get to share little tidbits of my testimony, like 15, 20 minutes in a high school gym. But there were lots of kids that I didn't get a chance to speak to. Even at a school of 3,000 kids, maybe we do a lunchtime FCA huddle and 300 kids come, which is a pretty big number. But there's
Mm,
another 2,700 kids in the school. Now, not
yeah.
everybody's going to read this book. Okay. I know that. And kids today probably read less than we did. But
Mm,
I wanted to have a way to touch kids or make a difference in a kid's life that I've never met. And that they might read this book and it has an impact on their journey, on their story. And so it was just something that I thought, hey, this is what God has done in my life, and how he's used sports to change me, mold me, shape me. And I thought it was worth sharing. Secondly, my
mm,
dad, he always wanted to write a book. He always talked about writing a book. It was a dream of his. And my dad passed almost 5 years ago now,
mm.
and it was kind of like a dream unfulfilled. So
Right.
there's, if you can see it back on the wall, it's kind of the shadow box with these three pieces of
Three
paper in it.
pieces.
That's a
Yep.
letter that my dad wrote me. And I didn't get the letter. I didn't open the letter till after his death, which was kind of
Oh, wow.
wild. It was kind of like he was speaking to me from the grave. And he didn't tell
Right.
me to write the book in that letter, but he talked about kind of his hopes and dreams that he would see fulfilled in my life. And so I kind of felt like, I use the image of a baton. There's a verse in the Bible that talks about running your race, and running it to win, or running it the right way. And I feel like my dad ran his race, but now the baton is mine, and I'm taking
Yeah.
it and I'm running my race. And that's another theme in the book. As I got near the end of the book, as I talk about, hey, now it's your time. I wrote the book, it's my time, but now it's your time. What
Mm,
are you going to do with it? What are you going to
mm,
do with the story of your life? Here's the baton. Go run your race
mm,
well.
mm. Nice. Very nice. Um, yeah. So if you look at what a book does, right? A book, you have a thought, you have something that you want to pass on. You know, like that's how it works for me. Like I've learned a lot of stuff. I think I've learned a lot of stuff along the way, and I feel I started off, diving into these things more for myself first, and then I thought, well, like what I learned here, I can pass this on, and then maybe that'll be helpful in somebody else's journey, and that's what kind of sounds like. What I use very different words than you just did, but that's kind of what it looks like for you as well, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. It's
Mm,
That's why I coach. That's why I do what I do, is to try to help people, is to try to make a
mm,
difference in their life and pass on the things that I've learned or the experiences that I've been through, and help them to avoid a mistake that I made, or help them
mm,
to uh, respond to a situation better than I did when they face it, and try to prepare them for their future, and really help them become the best versions of themselves, whatever that
yeah,
looks like for them. And it doesn't matter if they're an athlete or not. I just use a lot of sports analogies because I love sports so much. But there's a plan and a purpose for everybody.
yeah. Yeah, look, I think that's a very common theme among coaches is that um, we feel that the sport has given us so much that
Mm.
we want to pass that on. We're gonna, like the I've had through football. Like I always say this, like I the man that I am and the things I have and do, it's all because of the game that I started when I was a kid. That's really
Yeah.
what it is. And and like I said, like I've learned so much over the years that it is it's not a duty. It's not like uh, it's not the reason I'm coaching for. I love the game. I love the X. I love everything about it. But the X's and O's and finding out how to defeat this route and get an interception or the other way around and get a touchdown, getting some routes to run the proper way, whatever it is, right? But it's this, giving the guys some tools, some way, shape, or form that they can help them have somewhat of a journey as I had, like because I've been
Mhm.
doing this for a while, and look, it's been great. And like you said, look, the coaching in the NFL that I did was maybe we call it NFL light, in the NFL Europe. I definitely had dreams to coach in the NFL or stuff like that, but it's not the destination, is the journey, and that's really something for me that I just live by. I want to get better at something every day, right? And it just at some point I never think about where I'll end up next, because this is what I'm doing right now, and I'm gonna find a way to be the best version of myself in the position that I'm at. So the book, it's you said like it's not released just yet. When does it come out?
So the book comes out October of 2023, but you can order online copies. You can pre-order it now. It is on Amazon. It's called "It's My Time" by
Hmm.
Josh Phillips. It's my time, and the subtitle is "Learning How to Let God Write Your Story." And it's by me, Josh Phillips, and you can pre-order it now. And I'll have my copies, my author copies, in the next month or so. So if anybody wants to direct message me, so my Instagram is Josh underscore Phil, Josh underscore PHIL 27. That you can find me there. And also, I have an Instagram for the book. It's called It's My Time underscore book. So you can find it there and direct message me, and I'll see if I can send you a book and try to get you set up so you can read about the story. And I hope we had kind of talked about some of these young Aussie athletes potentially coming over to the United States to play football, and I'd love to help them in any way that I can. So if anybody has any questions or wants to reach out, I'm definitely an advocate. And just like you said, Coach, I do this because I care about young people and I want to help them. So any way that I can help them grow, develop as young people and as athletes, that's what I'm here for.
Very nice. Yeah. And how one of my things that I'm struggling with really in for the book, and let's is how many pages should it be? Can it be? Like what is not enough? What is too much? Did you have something in your head for that? Like is like can't be this much or can't be that short or
Um, so my publisher, I ended up publishing through a company called Morgan James, and they said that they wanted to limit the book, like it couldn't be over 275 pages or something like that. I think we landed right around like 249. I had no
okay.
idea how many pages it was when I was writing it, because you don't know
Yeah.
what the layout's going to actually look like. You're
Yeah.
writing on Word or whatever you're using. Um, but it ended up being a book that was in like I said, like 249, 250 pages, something like that. So that's where we landed. The book's like 20 some chapters. Like, I don't know if it's 22, 23 chapters, something like that. But there's
Okay.
different, it kind of depends on who the market is. And I
Mm.
know we didn't want to go much longer than that, because since I'm talking to young people, their attention span is only so much. So we just talked about what that would look like, and that's the number that we ended up with.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So your book is 20 chapters, and you're telling a story in all these chapters. Is that how it works a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a biography, but each chapter has its own theme. Each chapter is a different message, and I actually have something that I
Mm.
call the red zone check at the end of every chapter, to kind of get the young people to look at their own life and, okay, so here's what happened in mine, but now take a look at your own life. Now, again, it is spiritual and it relates to Bible verses and stuff like that. So it could be used for a small group Bible study. But even if you're not a religious person, okay, so this is the experience that Josh went through. What experience have I been through that's like that at all? And if I
Yeah.
was faced with similar circumstances, how would I react? How would I respond? It basically encourages the reader to journal as they go along and kind of figure out their own story as they're reading my story.
Mm. I like that idea. Is excuse me. Is that you read it and while you read or when you get to that first red zone check, it's like oh look a bunch of these things actually I can relate to that and then when you have the red zone check is that some is it like mm, like an assignment type bullet point how is this how's that kind of thing for you or what does that look like?
Yeah, it's basically probably 2 or 3 questions at the end of every
Mm,
chapter.
mm,
And
mm.
I'm not trying to give people homework, but
No.
we you learn, I think, that effective people in life learn to look back at what went well and didn't go well. Right? In a football game, we watch the film after and we break it down and we say, what did we do well? What did we not do well? How can we improve? If our goal is to constantly grow and improve in life, we got to be willing to look at ourselves. We got to be willing to
Mhm.
ask ourselves tough questions. And so really that's what the red zone check is about is, hey, I want to look at, okay, Josh went through this. He reacted well or didn't react well. He made this mistake or he had this. But when I've been faced with something similar, what did I do? Or if I
Mm.
am going to be faced with something, what do I want to do? How do I want to
Mhm.
react when that comes up? And I think that's how we prepare ourselves to handle things well when they come, and how we evaluate what we didn't do well and try to do something better the next time. And that's all we can
Yeah.
do, right? That's all we can
Mm.
do as human beings is take the experience that we went through, learn from it, figure out how we can do better the next time, and try to keep improving as we go along in life.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's very nice. And so like you said, like you're a man of faith. Um how much does so let's just say I mean I am an atheist as a I'm a 19-year-old. I'm a 17-year-old kid and who's an atheist and he want oh
I'm back.
Yeah, there he
I'm
is.
back. Yeah. I apologize. I'm getting this situated.
Action. No good.
Okay. I wish people would stop texting me. But like I said, the reason I couldn't put it on airplane mode is because the internet at this school is spotty in the office where I have it. So I didn't put it on airplane mode to be on Wi-Fi. And so then I've got it set up on this stand and it keeps falling off. But whatever. We're live. Yeah. So you're asking me about
faith. There's some comic relief. So if you're not a religious person, so that doesn't impact reading the book. So it really doesn't matter if you're religious or not.
I don't think you have to be religious to read the book and get something out of it. You know, Tim Tebow has written several books. He's a faith guy too, but I think he's inspiring as a person. He's inspiring because of what he's achieved.
Oh. All right, people. Seems like Josh dropped out. Maybe he can come back. Let's see. No, it doesn't look like it. All right, signing off. Oh, no, he's back.
Happened before?
Oh, I'm so. Oh, that's funny.
Have you ever had that happen before?
No, haven't. Look, I don't know what did you just drop out or just hit a different wrong button or something or?
No, it literally dropped out and I had to log back in real quick. But okay, I'm back.
Well, that's good. Yeah, good.
So you lost me for a minute. So what I was saying, I remember the question. The question was about, do you have to be religious to read the book? The answer is no. Because again, my ultimate purpose is people bettering themselves and learning how to handle adversity. And for a young athlete that is trying to learn and prepare themselves to grow, I think it could help anybody.
Oh, good. Well, like, I can't wait to start reading the book, Josh. That's something. Like I said, I read a ton of books. Yeah, and I reread them as well. I don't know if that's a thing, but I feel like every time because I have a handful of books that I really like, and if I reread them, I get something else out of it as well, you know. So, yeah. Coach, I think we it's just over an hour. I think we did really well here. Is there anything else that you can think of that we haven't covered here today that can be helpful? Like I said, for those Aussie kids maybe who are interested to come and play in high school or college football?
I would say if that's a dream that you have, pursue it and put everything into it. A lot of times people don't know how to get there, right? They have a dream, but they don't really know what it's going to take. Reach out to Coach Lighton because he's been there and he knows.
Oh, we're dropping out again. Right. Just when that valuable information for us players here is coming through, he's dropping out, but I will wait a second, and there he goes. He come back.
That's so weird. It logged me out again. StreamYard just kicked me out. But basically what I'm saying is one of the ways that I feel like I became successful is I always sought out people that knew more than I knew and had been where I want to go. And so, and you've got to be willing to push yourself and put yourself in situations where people are going to beat you. You're not going to win. You can potentially fail, but that's where you learn where you need to go.
Uh-oh. It's getting a bit annoying right now, isn't it? We'll be right back in a second. It's getting a little annoying at the moment, eh?
It is. And
You,
I'm sorry. I feel bad for your audience. I don't know why this keeps happening, why StreamYard keeps kicking me out. But, I can sign off. But basically, all I'm saying is I would talk to that man right there. If you're a young Aussie athlete and you want an opportunity to play this game at a high level, because he can help you get there. And you guys are welcome to reach out to me at any time and I'll do.
Damn it. All right. We got to.